babies, yes. Pastor Roy, and to the absence of your lovely wife, I don't see her here. Oh, she's there. Hi. And to all of you, on behalf of the children of the Skill Day Center and the families, we thank you so very much for your very kind donations. Everything we get is donated to us, but nothing moves the children like your boxes do. They have fun, and then I try to have to run them out, and I be trying to be nice to them. But anyway, the Skill Day Center, I call him my Moses. He came home one day and said we have to go into Busby Quarters. And I don't know if you're familiar with Busby Quarters, but that area was known for drug dealing, and it was a very violent community. And so when he came to me and said that we had to go, I heard I have to go. So I'm not this eye, but that eye. So I assumed that maybe he was going to check on one of his students because he was on staff at the school where those children went. But he told me, no, we have to go, like you and I have to go. And I told him, my name ain't Moses. I ain't got to go nowhere. Now, I'm a believer, and I'm all sanctified and believe in the Lord and everything, but, I mean, you're talking about drug dealers and guns and stuff, because if it's drugs there, it's some dealers, and if it's dealers, they got some guns. And we don't have any, and my Bible told me that the Lord wouldn't have me ignorant. And so I wasn't trying to hear it. Well, I talked to him later, and I rubbed his head. I rubbed all his heads, and I talked to him, and, honey, why don't we come up with a place that we can attract all kinds of people? And the way he says, sure, I was like, he's not getting it. So he walks out of his classroom. He's hanging out in Busby Quarters. I'm working at the sheriff's department, and I look at the newspaper that had come out, and he was on the front page of the newspaper, and there was an article saying Busby Quarters gets a Skill Day Center. And I'm not going to say what I was thinking, because I'm in the house of God, and I'm trying to be a temple for him. So, but I did repent for what I said. Well, our eldest daughter came home. Well, she called me first, because the baby girl, she was all on his side and told me, don't talk about my daddy. And I told her I got big and stretched out because of you. You can't tell me who to talk about. And the oldest girl, she had graduated from the University of Florida, and she called me one night, and I said, Cece, your daddy is talking about opening a tutoring center. And she says, oh, that'll be great. He'll be good for that. And I said, no, he's talking about going into Busby Quarters. And she said, put my daddy on the phone. And so I was like, yeah, she's going to tell him off, and he'll listen to her. She told him to give me 2 weeks. I'm going to resign and come home and help you. Listen, if y'all don't have no sons, you women, go adopt you one. I got 2 daughters, and neither one of them was on my side. I didn't like them, and I didn't like him for a long time, but I don't drive, so I had to hang in there because I couldn't get nowhere if I wasn't with him. So now I learned from reading a magazine article that he was in a neighborhood and he was talking to the parents about what he was endeavoring to do. And so here come all these guns to his head and telling him he better get out of the community. They didn't want him there. And he told them, sure, I'll be leaving. And as the article goes, he knew that they were going to come back, because they were going to come back and make sure that he wasn't in that little crack house again. Well, when they got there, he had a sawed-off shotgun, he had a Glock in his waist, and he had a stack of Bibles. And when they kicked the door in, they heard this noise that your guns make. And they backed up and said, this old bald-head N-word is crazy. Let's get up out of here. But he told them, no, fellas, you don't have to go. It's not going to be a shootout, but it'll be a shoot-in. Now, who want to draw first? So we didn't have any more problems with the dealers. Now, I know Moses did some stuff, but I called him Moses because of this. But he was on staff at Evergreen Elementary School, and all of the children in Busby Quarters had been labeled uneducatable. They went to Evergreen Elementary School. What moved him to do something was that he was in the area of the guidance counselor's office. And all of the files were on the shelves, but there was this big cardboard box, and it had a BQ on it in red. That was the first year the school was open. The second year, he's in the area again, and that big cardboard box is still there with all of these files. So his third year, he went into the guidance counselor's office and asked her, "May I ask you, what does BQ stand for?" And she said to him, "Oh, those old children from Busby." And so he didn't resign. He walked out of the school and went to their neighborhood. Because, you see, when we were growing up, when I was growing up, and when he was growing up in South Florida, and I was growing up in Cross City, Florida, in Dixie County, we came from very, very humble beginnings. That's the sophisticated way to say you were poor. But that's where we came, and there were people who sowed into our lives. And so he took those same kind of things, and he went to these children and said that they're teachable. They just need someone to be constant in their life. Well, then I told him to constantly go to work somewhere else. But he wasn't listening to anything I said. Today I'm very grateful that he didn't, because I stand here after being told I had less than 23 hours to live. I stand here as of August last year being hospitalized because I had blood clots in both lungs, could barely breathe, and the doctors were not able to find out where those blood clots came from. And I was saying, "But Lord, I've been in Busby. I went to Busby with Calvin the whole time. I was real nice to the chair. What is going on here?" But he raised me up. He raised me up. What we've learned, though, and this is why we don't take any federal money, we don't take any money with strings attached. We don't take anything with strings attached, because we need to be able to do what the children need to have done. We were recognized by the Clintons when President Clinton was in office. We spent a week on Capitol Hill, and then we were picked up off the floor. Mind you now, we were evicted from the mobile home park that we lived in. We owned the mobile home, but we didn't have the money to move it and have it set up because he walked off his job, and then I got fired for mine. Well, the house was moved out where we live now, but we didn't have the money to hook up the amenities. So when it got cold, my Moses here said, "All right, everybody, get you a blanket and some quilts. We're going to the hood." And so we're sleeping on the floor while we're being flown around the country to talk shows in the White House and whining and dining with food that I didn't even know people would eat. And we would come right back and get on the floor. One of the most memorable things, and I'm scattering here because I know my time is limited. One of the most memorable things that happened was this little boy, he had not come to the center for a couple of days. Well, Mr. Jones would always stand on the porch because now we're staying there. We're sleeping on the floor during the wintertime. So that gave me a deeper look at what was not happening for these children. So this little boy, he had not come for a couple of days, and Mr. Jones went out and he told him, "Hey man, where you been? I haven't seen you in a couple of days." And he was telling him some story. So he goes back inside the center, he gets a washcloth, he wipes his face, he gives him something to swish his mouth out, he fixed up his little dirty clothes and told him, "Okay now, go to school, you have a good day, and I'm watching you now, I got my eyes on you." That's what he would tell all of them. And today I can stand here and say it's not because of anything we've done other than go where God sent us. 90% of those children who were labeled uneducatable are high school graduates with honors, and we have a plethora of college graduates. And you see, what we learned was that children that are in up to third grade, from preschool to third grade, that are labeled uneducatable, the Department of Corrections meet to discuss how much money, how many thousands of dollars they will need to incarcerate these low-performing third-grade children. So this is what our society does. You target a group of people, you make them be nothing, you insist that they're nothing, and you put them in a position that they cannot become anything. But I tell you that when you step out and do what God tells you to do, the last, the lost, and the least he can raise to a very high height. And that's what he's done. Because you see, when a child is labeled uneducatable, when children have labels on them like they're hyper and they're this and they're that, well, guess what? The state pays for this medication, the Ritalin and all that kind of stuff. But the minute that boy and girl becomes 18, state doesn't pay for it anymore. So now you've made drug addicts, and they don't have to be using crack. They don't have to be shooting up with anything. They're drug addicts from medicine that you go to the pharmacist and give your child. Mr. Jones realized all of that. Dr. Jones, I may say. He realized all of that. And that's why he said no. Then when I realized that I was sold out, juvenile justice called us and said, we want you to go to a grant writing symposium. When you leave the symposium, come by and pick up this check for $60,000. Now, we had been saving pennies and scraps, and the Lord blessed us to put Burger King, them Whoppers for $1, and that's what we had for every day for years, and sometimes had to scrounge for the pennies, but we held our shoulders up, and we held our heads high, and I didn't lose no weight either. But we trudged on. So we go to the symposium, and now in the midst of the symposium, we never made it to pick up the check because the facilitator said children under 10 cannot come into your program if you take this money. And so I had lost most of my vision, and Dr. Jones nudged me, and I raised my hand. Just speak. He told me, just go on and speak. He's acknowledging you. And I said, sir, we're in a neighborhood where we have 10-year-olds who are responsible for who gets the peanut butter with no jelly or bread, who gets the hot dog without a bun. So if smaller children can't come, the 10 and up can't come either, because most of them were responsible for their younger siblings. He told me, I don't care where you are. If we do a site visit and you have children under 10 years old in your facility, we will take everything you have, we will shut you down. I got my cane, I nudged Moses and say, come on, let's get up out of here. So there was a lady who came out, oh, there are ways to get around that. I told her, in jail, I'm blind, I can't see. I'm not trying to go there. So that made me leave the money issue alone. But I can tell you that we've gotten down low, but we've never gotten out of anything. God has richly, richly blessed. The building that we're in, I hope that all of you could come one day, because Calvin was looking for a double wide that he could gut out, buy a 1/4 acre of land, put this double wide on, and we were going to be able to move out of the crack house. Well, as our God would have it, 2 acres of land, the money just came in. Some people were nice. Some of them just threw it, and I thought I was, some football player catching them checks and dollars and stuff, because I didn't let nothing hit the floor. But we ended up with a 3,000 square foot building sitting in the middle of them 2 acres, built from ground up and furnished. And now we can't even store all the stuff we have. We're always giving and giving and giving. And when the scriptures say you can shop without money, I'm a living witness. That's just what you can do. God is just that faithful. And so over all of the years, nurses and police officers and so many college graduates. I know in the 28 years that we've been doing this, we have at least, I don't know that this number is correctly, but I know it's at least 30 college graduates. And some with graduate degrees. And these are children that were supposed to be uneducatable. Now, you see, my idea of teaching is that everybody sit down and you be quiet and you take your turn. Mr. Jones say, no. If a child doesn't learn the way you teach the way the child learns. So now when he comes in, it is like a tornado because he's here. And then the little kids be looking at me rolling their eyes like, you can't say nothing to us because he's here. And I be looking back at them saying, yeah, but he gonna leave. And I'm gonna be in here with you. But it has been such a life that I could not imagine had he listened to me. So women, when you have husbands, you may not hear them pray, you may not see them read the Bible, but before you tell them what can't be done, just go on and follow it. And I would say pray, because I wasn't doing a lot of praying back then, but I pray more now. But I give more thanks now. Because I was the one who didn't miss church on Sundays. But now I know that the walk that you walk for Christ, you got to walk that 7 days a week, 24/7. It's not just a Sunday thing. So I think I really got saved because of my husband in the Scale Day Center. And he was one that didn't knock anybody's church door down, but he was always quoting something, telling me something what the Bible said, and you got to talk to me. I go to church on Sundays. You don't have to tell me what the Bible said. But it's not about just saying it. It's about living it. And when he walked off his job, he never, ever looked back. And it has afforded me a life in places that I couldn't have worked to pay for. And as it turns out, I tell people, when people say, well, if you don't apply for grants and if you don't do this, then how do you get funded? And our answer is, if it doesn't come through the mailbox or walk through the door, we don't get it. We don't beg for money, because he'll tell you, JC told me he didn't send me out to chase dollars. And I was like, you ain't got to chase them. Could you just walk with him a little while? Because we ain't got no money. But he never did. And if he asks you now, if he come to you and say, the center need, or we need this, it's for the Scale Day Center, it's not for his pocket. But God has blessed us. And so from that single-wide mobile home, he set a skyline in the middle of them 3 acres that we live on. Given, and everything in it. That's what he does. You can't beat him giving. And I'm a witness of that. And so I applaud my husband. I appreciate the God that lives in him because of him. Now, did we get them all? No, we haven't. But for those who keep coming back, and they bring their children back, and they come and say, I want my degree on the wall. I want my high school diploma on the wall. We're running out of wall space for that. And it's not because they're cheating in school. It's because they know how to read and write and arithmetic, and all we had to do was stand in the gap. So now that I'm about to cry, I know it's time for me to sit down. But thank you all so much for all of the support that you've given us over the years. Pastor Roy and Sister Pastor Roy, we thank you all so very much. We thank you for your prayers, and we ask that you please keep us in prayer. Please keep us in prayer, that we'll continue, because I'm not tired yet. So when my eyes go completely dim and I can't move at all, I guess I'll be laid, stretched out, and that's when my time will be up. Because as long as I'm alive, I know that we can do something. Thank you so very much.